Hi, this is Philip Byrne with PhoneScoop.com, and today I'm taking a look at the Sony Ericsson Naite. And the Naite would be a pretty inexpensive, unremarkable phone, except that it's part of Sony Ericsson's Greenheart initiative. Greenheart is an environmental plan that Sony Ericsson has to reduce their carbon emissions and carbon footprint over the lifetime of their devices. So the phone uses recycled plastics, and its internal guts are a little bit more environmentally friendly than your standard cell phone, but otherwise this is a really basic and pretty unexciting model. There isn't much to say about it, and what we do have to say isn't very good. Before I even get to the features, the phone itself is sort of a pain to use. These keys are just horrible. They're cheap, they're wobbly. As you can see, when you press on one key, the one above it and beneath it sort of bend to meet your finger. It was very, very difficult to type accurately. It was tough to press the clear key, the end key. There was just nothing easy about anything on this phone as far as just using the keys. Navigation was easy with this button right here, but you just don't want to type on it for any stretch of time. Also, Sony Ericsson is stuck with this fast port, which is really just a lame choice at this point. Every other major manufacturer is moving to some variety of USB, usually micro USB or mini USB, something like that. I think Sony Ericsson is just about the only one to hang on to their own proprietary brand, except on their higher end phones where you get a standard USB port. So clearly they've seen the light, it just hasn't trickled down to the low end yet. The Sony Ericsson Naite is so inexpensive, it's only about $130, $140 for an unlocked version of this phone without a contract agreement. So you might think it was good for basic users, but really this can be a kind of a difficult phone to use. When I first popped in my SIM card, the settings for my internet and calling didn't come up properly. I had to download them from the internet. It's got this front-facing camera here, which will never be used on the US networks, at least not on this phone, so clearly that's just a holdover from the unlocked European edition. And it's sort of poorly organized in places. For instance, you might think that Twitter would be a really popular feature for this phone, but the first time you need it, you have to go to Organizer, and then Applications. Keep scrolling until you find Twitter here. Oops, service unavailable. Well, I was getting error messages like that all the time when I used this phone. Usually they would just kind of go away and things would start working, but it was still frustrating nonetheless. It's not what you want to see on a basic, easy-to-use phone. Call quality on the Naite wasn't fantastic either. Voices sounded a little bit muffled. Reception was very good, but our calls just didn't sound fantastic, and our callers reported pretty much the same thing on their end. Now, as you can see, the Naite gets some good multimedia features. This is a Sony Ericsson phone after all, so it gets this nice cross-menu bar from Sony. Can handle all of our music pretty much. And you'll even see some album artwork. Not sure why all of our albums didn't come through properly. It's not quite a Walkman phone. The player isn't quite that quality, but it still did a good job handling our music. The Naite also has native email support, and we hooked it up with our Gmail account. It's got a very basic web browser, which is a real waste of the HSDPA networking on board. This is a 3G phone, but it really can barely open up the pages that we requested. See, it can't even open up PhoneScoop. What use is that? But it will open up CNN.com in the mobile form. And there you can see it's just a basic mobile browser. Nothing really to get excited about here. And otherwise that's pretty much it. You get the Play Now menu, but this doesn't really work in the United States, so I'm not sure why Sony Ericsson includes it. You can't download music. You can download a few ringtones, but you can't download any games from Play Now. It's got an FM radio on board and all of your basic PIM software, personal information software is here, but really it's not a very fun or easy phone to use. It's just inexpensive and it's environmentally friendly. And maybe for some people that's enough. For PhoneScoop.com, this is Philip Byrne.